views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx to the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Daren Jaime. Today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough. And coming up on today's show, we're going to update you on the reaction to President Trump's State of the Union speech. Afterwards, a Bronx restaurant owner is here in studio telling us about her recent run-in with the law. And then, February's American Heart Month, and a pediatric cardiologist from Montefiore Medical Center will be in studio giving us a little bit more details. And after that, a former New York City public servant is returning to the Bronx, this time serving in a new capacity. She's going to be here in studio telling us more. And lastly, we'll learn more all about a woman-owned paralegal firm located in the Hub. So stay tuned, because all this and much more is heading your way, because right now we're officially open. Well, hello everyone, I'm Daren Jaime, and today is Wednesday, February 6th, and you are now watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is now being broadcast live simultaneously on MNN's channel. Now you can stay connected to us via Twitter at BronxNet TV and on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. Well, a lot has certainly been going on through this past week. We're going to take you through it with some Bronx updates. A wild wave of crimes came to a violent end, leaving a suspect shot, 2 others in custody, and a New York City police officer injured. It all began around 6 a.m. on Sunday when 3 suspects allegedly carjacked a vehicle driving to Manhattan, where they were involved in another robbery. The suspects allegedly later traveled to Brooklyn, committing 2 more robberies where they carjacked another vehicle, a stolen 2011 black Hyundai Sonata, approached by police near the Bronx Family Courthouse around 11 a.m. Now, the driver suddenly reversed, pitting Officer Vanessa Rodriguez between another vehicle. The officer then opened fire, striking the driver in the chest and torso. The driver and Officer Rodriguez were rushed to Lincoln Hospital. Officials say Rodriguez has since been released from the hospital, recovering from injuries to her leg and her hip. The suspect in critical but stable condition. 7 Catholic schools are slated to close in New York, 2 of those right here in the Bronx. According to authorities, the decision came down due to lack of funding. The Bronx schools set to close at the end of the academic year are St. Nicholas of Tolentine Elementary School, founded in 1926 and located near Fordham Heights, and St. Joseph's Elementary School, located in the South Bronx, which has been open since 1877. Archbishop of New York, Cardinal Timothy Dolan, stated, quote, "All the kids in the schools that are closing are going to be able to go to other Catholic schools nearby. They'll be immediately and enthusiastically welcomed." A catering company has been awarded $1 million to move from Manhattan right here to the Bronx. Great Performances will be moving their Bruckner building located at 2417 3rd Avenue after being awarded by the Regional Economic Development Council. The move will be creating about 55 new jobs, from cooks and dishwashers to drivers and helpers. The company also seeks to host classes for children and families about living healthy lifestyles. Great Performances is slated to open by July of the year, and we'll be looking forward to it coming right here to the borough of the Bronx. That's all for our Bronx updates. Stay tuned. We got more Open coming up right after this.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
And we're back here on Open. Yesterday, President Donald Trump had his State of the Union address. He covered several topics, such as the border wall, improving U.S. infrastructure, and banning late-term abortions, and more. Here to discuss this and more, J.C. Polanco, political and legal analyst. He joins us here on Open. J.C., good to have you. Hey, good morning. Listen, I want to get right at it. The President's State of the Union address yesterday, a lot can be said. Let's walk it through from the beginning. Normally when the president comes in, it usually takes several minutes for him to have the opportunity to have handshakes, talk to people coming down the aisle. And yesterday seemed to be the fastest from the back door all the way to the podium. Did you notice?
You know, I noticed that, he's a very different type of president. And even in pomp and circumstance, he's going to do things a little differently. I remember in the old days, Elliot Engel would wait on the aisle from about 4 p.m. or maybe even sleep over the night before to get that seat so he can shake the president's hand. I didn't see Elliot Engel there last night. I don't know how many non-Republicans were out there trying to shake the president's hand, so it may have been one of the reasons why it was faster than normal. But if you notice, Nancy Pelosi didn't even introduce the president. Normally, that's how it happens, and that's something that he wanted. So I think he changed things a little bit. He changed the order of things to do things like he wanted.
Yeah, well, when we talk about the order of things, we knew that in the beginning that possibly it would be a bipartisan speech in the beginning. People thought talking a little bit more about love and unity. But before we could get too far into it, we understood partisan politics came into play. Your thoughts on the president?
Well, listen, he had a job last night. We are a divided country. His job last night was to try to unite the country. He also had another duty, which is, and this is just political, he needed to make sure that his base stayed with him and that he brought over center-right moderates to his side. If last night people felt as if he extended an olive branch to the Democrats and secured his Republican base, it was a success. And CBS took a poll overnight and showed that over 70% of Americans thought that was a successful speech. Well, obviously, about 20% of Democrats did, but that's neither here nor there. You always expect that kind of partisanship to happen. Mm-hmm. I think that he had opportunities there, Daren, to be a little nicer, a little kinder, a little I've made mistakes. I've heard you, like Obama said during his presidency when he lost the Congress. I'm listening. I got you. That didn't come out. There should have been a little more humility. I didn't see that either. And I did see the Trump streak that we know, that combative, I will build the wall, I will get it done no matter what. And I think that Americans are okay with it now. I think Americans understand that this is President Trump, that he's going to claim credit for things that he didn't do, that he's going to misstate facts, and that he's going to give you a lot of bravado. And we saw that yesterday as well. Mm-hmm. But let's not lose sight that we also saw people that landed on D-Day. We saw a child that was fighting brain cancer. We saw the first people that took advantage of the first step, I believe the law is called. Mm-hmm. We saw some good things happen, some things that are not controversial, some things that were bipartisan. So if you really wanted to look for bipartisanship, you would find some.
You saw some, but then you clearly saw partisanship. Your thoughts on the women in white?
Listen, I think that it's always good when we have diversity. And I thought that having more women in Congress than ever before was a great thing. It gives hope to a lot of young girls, especially my daughter, who sees females that look like her that are getting elected to make laws for 350 million people. That's a good thing. So I think that the statement of wearing white was one that was remarkable. It was one that applauded and celebrated women's suffrage. And it also did another thing that we have to be honest about. It was sending a message to the president that these women are there in response to his election, in response to his rhetoric, in response to some of the things they saw in his campaign, and they were going to be loud about it. So I'm sure not everyone watching today will agree with me, but I think it's a positive thing when we see activism, when we see more diversity, and I think having so many women there gives hope to a lot of young girls.
You talked about, the president did talk about the wall, but one thing that he did not speak about really was the shutdown.
No, why would he? That's negative. the shutdown hurt his poll numbers. And last night was about helping his poll numbers as well as trying to unite the country, like I mentioned earlier. So he mentions the investigations, which I think was a little shallow on his part, that there can't be legislation with investigations. I mean, I don't know if he was listening to old Johnny Cochran tapes before going out there yesterday trying to match, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. But I think that, he's going to skip the things that hurt his poll numbers. He didn't talk about the shutdown. Another thing he didn't talk about, Dreamers. That concerned me. I know it concerned a lot of Bronxites. He didn't talk about Puerto Rico. Concerns me, concerns a lot of Bronxites. So there's a lot of things he didn't mention.
Right. And when we talk about Nancy Pelosi, obviously, as we said at the top of the interview, that normally it is her job to introduce the President of the United States. That did not happen. What do we know there?
Listen, I think that the president's going to realize that we now have divided government. And there's a little bad blood between Nancy Pelosi and the president. You got to give a little kudos there to Nancy Pelosi. She still is the only person I know that doesn't have a nickname. I know Daren, if he knew you and me, we'd both have nicknames by now. I'd be Chubby JC. I won't even say what he say about you, Daren. But the fact that the speaker doesn't have a nickname, I think, shows that he respects her. And she goes toe to toe with the big dude in the room. And you're gonna sense that every time they're in the room, whether it's in a conference, whether it's at the State of the Union, when they're negotiating, you're going to see that the president knows that the person in front of him is someone that he has to take seriously.
When we talk about moving forward, obviously after this speech, today's the day we do a lot of like Monday morning quarterbacking or Wednesday morning quarterbacking, if you will. Let's get to what do we think is going to happen from here? Obviously, both sides go back to their respective corners, and then what?
Well, I think that we're going to see a bump in the president's poll numbers after last night. He hit some things that I think did that. For example, when he mentioned the fact that he's going to fight to end partial birth abortion, I think that's something that's going to resonate with a lot of moderates and a lot of Hispanics and a lot of African Americans across the country that may not like Trump, but really hate partial birth abortion. So you're going to see him going around the country and talk about those things that may bring some moderates and independents that just despise Trump, but really want nothing to do with that stuff. And then you're going to see him go around the country talking about the First Step Act and how he's fighting for Black and Hispanics that have been wrongly incarcerated for long periods of time. That's going to bring people on his side. He's going to keep talking about the job numbers and how women are now filling in new jobs that were created. I think 58% of new jobs that were created were filled by women. So if he's smart, he will read a script and stick to message. If he's not, he'll go off on tangents and start talking about, things that really will push people away from him.
All right.
When he starts name calling and starts exaggerating the numbers of criminal undocumented immigrants in the country, I think most moderates and independents are going to view that as fear-mongering, and it's going to hurt him in the long run. So let's hope as a country for us to have some peace for a couple of months and have him talk about some of the positive things that are happening.
All right. Well, thank you. You do have a nickname. It's JC Polanco, our guest in studio.
No, Chubby JC. He's called.
Chubby JC. Okay. Well, thank you, Chubby JC. We'll definitely bring you back. Thanks so much for sharing with us.
Thank you, Daren.
All
have
right.
a good day.
Take care, JC. All right. Listen, taking a quick break. We're going to have more open. Stay with us. We're coming right back right after this.
I guess sometimes things just happen. Devastating things. Your whole world changes in an instant. That's what happened to me the day my mother had a stroke.
I'm Paul George, and I want you to spot a stroke fast.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911.
Protect the ones you love.
Spot a stroke fast.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
For all the papas out there, let's stop what we're doing and take a moment. A moment to be with our kids. They can be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments, kooky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count because every time dads take a moment to be with their kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's all take a moment to make a moment today.
Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Last month, Yajaira Saavedra was arrested at her family restaurant La Mirada, located in Mount Haven. Yajaira was released hours after police determined she had not committed a crime. What exactly happened that day? And she's going to share a little bit of her story, and we thank her for joining us here. Yajaira, thank you so much for being here with us. So we've heard the story. It's been across the news, but thank you for coming and having the opportunity to share here with us in studio. So let's walk back from it. You're here at the restaurant.
Sure.
And you're at the restaurant. What happens?
So I want to start off by announcing something more important than the president's speech, which is free 21 Savage. And I'm mentioning this because it's really related to my story, in which people of color, brown and black folks, are always racially targeted by the NYPD and ICE alike. They both operate in similar strategies and tactics. Why am I saying this? I was recording what I felt like it was an unjust arrest happening in front of my restaurant. It was a neighbor. I don't know his name. I don't know anything about it. But as a responsible neighbor, I started recording the arrest. So I didn't know at that time there were undercover cops inside the restaurant, inside my workplace, inside my restaurant, my family-owned restaurant. And then they told me to stop recording. They asked my brother to tell me to stop recording. And honestly, I just saw my brother arguing with what I thought was a customer. And then as I approached him, the rowdy customer, I really thought that he was just upset that we didn't have avocado toast because of the gentrification that's going on in Mount Haven. So I was like, okay, let me deal with this. And next thing he knows, he's like, well, I asked your brother to serve me a glass of water. Really commandeering, really high testosterone levels and all of that bravado that's implied with somebody with a shield. With a badge. So I asked him, and he told me that there was an undercover investigation going on, that we had to close down the restaurant, not let anybody out. So I asked him to see a warrant. He said, I don't have a warrant, but I have a badge and a gun, and he flashed his gun. And if you don't do as I say, I'm going to flip the restaurant around. At that point, I just told him that I was the owner, and he had no right to be in there, so I told him to leave. So the other undercover cops that were sitting down, also acting like customers, got up and told me that they were also undercover cops, and I told them that they could leave too. Then shortly after, one of the rowdy undercover cop who I thought was going to order avocado toast, came in with a bunch of his other gang members and arrested me. I'm calling them gangs because I feel like the NYPD, that's what they do to our neighborhood. And we could see that more clearly now with the mass gentrification, which produces mass policing.
So when they arrested you, what did they say? Did they give you a reason?
They said that they were afraid that I was recording the undercover detectives, and that if I showed the video, they were scared of the undercover detective life. So it was more of like a strategy, I guess, or I don't know, whatever their reason is, which I think that even that it doesn't make sense, simply because in a press statement, one of the officers stated the gender of the undercover cops, and I have so far withheld from pronouncing the genders simply because I care about the safety. I take safety into great precautions and great matters.
So they come into the restaurant, they put you in custody.
They put me in cuffs.
Mm-hmm.
I still have the marks of the cuffs.
Mm-hmm. And how long did they keep you?
It felt like an eternity, but it was a couple of hours thanks to the community members who mobilized right away and who packed the courtroom. And I think that's why we should always be protective of our community members. We should always defend our hood and be proud of our hood, right? So we have small businesses already, from gentrifiers, from Rubenstein, from Majora Carter. It's the Bronx event that is displacing our neighbors who are going to be there defending us like they were showing up there for me. There is a community at stake right now.
Now, your restaurant's been there for more than a decade, and, you know, it's very well known in the community.
Sure.
Have you ever had any incidents like this before?
La Morada, that's located in 308 Willis, is well known for its activism, both politically in the immigrant world, nationally, as well as statewide. We have done a lot of activism work, the Dream 9 being one of the biggest, in which my brother self-deported and infiltrated a detention center. So we've been around, and we've also gotten, I will say, one of the highest awards in the whole Mount Haven district, in which we've gotten the Michelin Bib Award. We've gotten awards from Bloomberg Magazine, from the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, you name them. We've always had that recognition. So the La Morada is well known.
And you feel, and so you definitely feel as though you were targeted.
I feel that as a brown woman, as a person of color, we are always racially targeted, and we could see that through statistics such as the one published by the the New York New York LCU. Yeah, sorry,
No
I'm a little
problem.
bit nervous. In which, like, it stated that, what was it, like, nearly the double of people of color are arrested compared to their white counterparts, right? We could see it how folks are always getting arrested for minor violence, minor crimes such as like weed, but you go to Central Park, Washington Square Park, and you see all these white people doing the same thing with open cans of beers and not getting bothered whatsoever.
So you have a rally coming up?
Yes.
And I want you to talk about that.
Sure. So we're having a press conference today, an open mic press conference, meaning that anybody who has gotten unfairly arrested by the NYPD or harassed is open. The mic is yours, right? The floor is yours, because it's not only my story, it's my neighborhood story. And it's going to be at 5:30 in front of the Lincoln Hospital main entrance. And yes, the Lincoln Hospital, it's notoriously known for the lack of funding that's receiving, which is really unfair compared to the multi-million-dollar precinct that's being built, in the 149th Street for the 40th precinct. So they're getting awarded instead of held accountable for all their injustice. So after the press conference, there's going to be an NYPD Community Council meeting at 6:30, room 4, inside the Lincoln Hospital.
Before I leave and let you go,
Sure.
any fear now that you've been arrested, incarcerated, right? You're putting together this rally.
Sure.
You seem even right today a little shook. Any fear going into today?
So when my brother was arrested, when he self-deported to infiltrate a detention center, he stated, "There is no fear in perfect love." And that is what's motivating me right now. The fact that I love my community and the fact that I wanted to stay so my niece could grow up and see how beautiful it is.
Yajaira Saavedra, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us, and best wishes to you. Of course, we're going to continue to follow your story. Thank you for coming here and sharing it with us here on Open.
Thank you for listening.
All righty. Listen, we're going to take a quick break. We do have more shows. Stay with us. We got more Open coming up right after this.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
It's the Bronx is a celebration showcasing the talent and the innovative spirit, embodying our borough through music, arts, media, and food. And guess what? Our BronxNet cameras were there to capture all of the action at It's the Bronx, and so now we're going to take a look.
This is the Boogie Down Party of the Year.
Eclectic styles of music blare from the speakers and reverberates the room, while warm and cool-colored neon lights bounce off of the reflective stainless steel tanks filled with beer as we kick off It's the Bronx, the first in a string of events designed to give aspiring Bronx creatives with a passion for the arts a platform to showcase their talent. The aroma of comfort and cultural food set the tone as we took BronxNet cameras around the brewery. We caught up with Marco Shalma, the founder of It's the Bronx, where he reveals the inspiration stemmed from another festival he experienced.
The vision came when I first went to South by Southwest, and I saw this energy, the creative energy that came together by way of music, art, food, film, tech, and I thought why not? In the Bronx we have so many creative people, and I know that there's never been done something this scale that we're planning on doing has never been done, and I said you know what, we can do it.
Host of the evening, Jessica Cunnington of News 12 The Bronx, expresses how It's the Bronx amplifies the appreciation towards music originating in the Bronx and support between fellow musicians.
The talent has always been here. We know we're the birthplace of hip-hop. People on their own are doing these incredible things, but I think what at least I've seen in the last 5 years in covering stories around the Bronx on News 12 The Bronx is that there's just so much collaboration and support for each other.
And support is what they got, with the Bronx Brewery filled to the brim with guests cheering on their favorite performers. After performing, singer-songwriter Ayanna Williams, along with musical duo brothers Amir Soul and Avil, reflect on the impact It's the Bronx has made.
It was just a great turnout to see a bunch of people just supporting each other.
Yeah, definitely it's inspiring to just keep on going. We were both born and raised in the Bronx, so this is somewhere that's close to home.
It brings us together. It shows that hey, we're not alone in the whole mix of it all, and that we don't really have to travel that far to share our work, to share our creativity. We can network with each other.
Performers also express how refreshing it is to have an outlet that fills in the gap for an inclusive music experience that was rare prior to It's the Bronx.
It's good to see something not happening in Brooklyn. I'm glad to see things actually happening here, and I'm interested in the growth of this and want to see it really strive, because there's a lot of here, there's more than Cardi B.
There's still that want for a place to go see live music of rock, metal, punk, whatever you want to call it. Now that stuff like this is happening now, and it's has a much wider audience base and much wider reach now, then that only means more opportunities for people like us or like any of the other artists here today.
A few artists also found a way to infuse hip-hop and R&B with their love of culture and family influences.
I really wanted to show versatility. I'm from the country of Bangladesh, so I wanted to sing Bengali folk song, which I connect to heavily, and also my single, which has been out for a long time. And I just wanted to create a powerful, different kind of performance.
I'm an artist, so I kind of do like everything, hip hop, R&B, Afro beats. Growing up as a kid, my aunt, she got me a piano, and I started playing it like at the age of 5. And that's where it took off for me. I fell in love right there.
Everybody in my family does music. It's just been something, it's always been an escape for me. Music it allows me to feel the biggest person that I am.
To add to the excitement, not only do the performers get to showcase their skills, but the artist that captures the audience has a surprising opportunity headed their way.
We're gonna open up the voting online, and then we'll have all the artists featured, and then all our followers and all the everybody in the Bronx can go over there and kind of select who they like to go move on to the next level. Together we'll choose that and feature and give hopefully what will be a career opening opportunity.
To see full coverage and special broadcasts of It's the Bronx, watch here or visit bronxnet.tv. Reporting for BronxNet, Kidman Aline.
And thank you, Kibben. Well, the month of February is American Heart Month, and when it comes to discussions about one's heart, common medical problems are heart disease, high blood pressure, or even heart failure. But have you ever heard of congenital heart defects? Well, sharing more with us here in studio is Dr. Nicole J. Sutton, pediatric cardiologist of Montefiore Medical Center. Dr. Sutton, good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here.
Good. So talk to us about this, Al. We talked about congenital heart defects. What exactly is a congenital heart defect?
So a congenital heart defect is something that is with the structure of the heart that someone is born with. So it forms actually when the babies are growing inside of their mother and is something that stays with them their whole life.
So give us a little bit about specialty care. How do you guys deal with, babies and those who have congenital heart defects?
So we actually take care of patients from the time they're fetuses. We actually have a program, a whole fetal heart program, where we see women with who are pregnant, who people suspect have heart disease, and we can actually do special ultrasounds to diagnose babies with heart disease, so parents and OBs can plan for those babies' deliveries, and we can make plans for when or if they might need surgery. We see them from the time they're born until they are adults. We actually will see people on the same day who are 3 weeks old and 58 years old. We have a whole subspecialty of cardiology that's called for adults with congenital heart disease. And we have a big program for that. It's the Montefiore Adult Congenital Heart Program to follow those adults as they get older, because we have such a spectrum of disease that we see.
When somebody says disease, obviously there's a connotation right off the bat, right? It's really rough, it's really tough, it's really scary. So when you talk about somebody with congenital heart disease, walk us through the process of how long does this disease last? Is it lifelong? Is it something we can grow out of? Is it something that you grow with? How does it go?
So when we talk about congenital heart disease, there's a very large spectrum. There are very minor problems, and then there are major problems that result in lots of surgeries and might even wind up with a heart transplant. For every patient, it's very different, and often the way they get to us, it can be very harrowing for families. People get very concerned when heart disease gets brought to them, especially families with newborn babies, or when you're pregnant. You don't want to hear that something's wrong with your baby. You want to hear that everything's perfect. And so we try to address the individual problem of that patient, and that's why it's a very variable thing what we do. Some patients will have a problem that can be fixed with one procedure, like a surgery, or even what I do, which is catheterization. We can close holes that way. We can sometimes avoid surgery completely in some patients. Most patients who have some congenital heart disease will need to be followed, though, for their whole life by a cardiologist. And one of the things we try to do is help people learn what their heart looks like and what they should do for that. Most of our patients, though, no matter what their lesions are, go on to lead full lives. They go to school, they play sports. We actually have patients One of our patients has very bad, on the very severe spectrum of heart disease, and is a competitive gymnast. So there's no thing that we say you cannot do.
Right.
It depends a lot on how you feel. And we actually feel it's very important to be able to do normal kid things. Go to school, play sports, go to all your regular things that kids like to do. And then as you get older, go to college.
Right.
Get a job, get married and have kids. And so we do all of that counseling with our families from the beginning.
Well, what advice do you have for parents? Because obviously, for a parent, it is a harrowing experience.
Right.
You know, you're looking for this healthy child, and then you're faced with this challenge. So, what advice do you have for parents if they're suffering?
So if there's a question about congenital heart disease, one of the good things to do is to go see a congenital heart disease specialist. And that's usually a pediatric cardiologist. And if you have a baby, if you're pregnant, then you would start by seeing one of the fetal specialists. Those are people who do the fetal ultrasounds on the belly, take good pictures, and will give you a lot of information. We're very open to discussing everything and talking with multiple doctors. We do everything in a team. So we have a team of cardiologists and surgeons who will meet with families. We have social workers, we have child life specialists, everything to help. We make sure, and we try to make sure that people understand what's going on and that we tailor the care for their life and for their lifestyle. So if some families, the first thing they ask when they hear about this is, will my child play football? And other families go, will my child be able to go to college? Right? Everyone has different goals and ideas about what they want to do, and we want to help them get there. And for most of our patients, they can do that. They can do normal things and be normal kids. And we try to make people understand that while there's a problem, it doesn't have to be the whole definition or limitation of their life. And the thing that we really like for people to do is to do things that are healthy for them. Exercise, play sports, eat healthy, and do all those things that kids like to do.
So give us this before we go. This month, obviously, is a very busy month. Activities, things going on?
Yeah, so at Montefiore, there's a whole series of events happening this month. There are events that are open to the public to learn about how to take care of your heart, how to eat healthy. You can get screened for hypertension. And in pediatrics, we actually have a pediatric heart party, and we celebrate for all the kids who we see. We have a big party right around Valentine's Day to celebrate their special hearts.
Red is for Heart Month, by the way.
Yes, it is.
So we all got the red on. Listen, before we go, we talked a little bit off camera just quickly. Talk about numbers, because you're talking about how the numbers, how numbers are changing.
Oh, sure. So congenital heart disease is actually the most common congenital defect. It happens in about 1 in 1,000 babies. And as I said, it's a big spectrum from mild problems to big problems. But what's happened over the last 20 years is that all of our surgeries have gotten much better. And so people are surviving, which is great, and they're becoming adults. What that now means is that there are more adults with congenital heart disease than there are children with congenital heart disease. And that is where the growing number of patients are, and why we focus a lot on these adults with congenital heart disease. They do need to see specialists in adult congenital heart disease because they're in their 20s and 30s and they don't have coronary artery disease. Right. They have different set of problems.
So that causes a new set of things they have to do.
Exactly. So they have to do slightly different follow-up and different things than an older person who might have hypertension or coronary artery disease.
Well, Dr. Nicole Sutton is the pediatric cardiologist at Montefiore, and thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All righty, listen, we're going to take a quick break. Got more show. Remember, Red is for Heart Month, so don't go anywhere. Come right back right after this.
Chiru has no choice. She and millions like her walk miles a day for dirty water. But together, we can end their walk by providing clean water close by. Instead of spending hours walking to get water that makes them sick, girls can be in a classroom and moms will gain back time to care for their families. Sons and daughters can grow up strong, finally free of sicknesses. It's true. When you just add water, you change a life. Learn more at worldvision.org.
For all the papas out there, let's stop what we're doing and take a moment. A moment to be with our kids. They can be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments, kooky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count, because every time dads take a moment to be with their kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's all take a moment to make a moment today.
Open up your books to page 360.
Did you just look at your phone while you was in class? You played yourself.
Talking about inspirational quotes.
You gotta believe in yourself. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Louise, can you give me an example of an inspirational quote?
Don't play yourself. The key is to make it.
And who said that?
I did. Now that's a major key alert.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at getschool.com.
Why don't you ever see elephants hiding in trees? Because they're really good at it. Yeah, I get it.
And we are back here on Open. And guess what? Our next guest served as Deputy Mayor for Education and Human Services under Mayor Rudy Giuliani and also former Mayor Ed Koch. And she recently returned to the Bronx, and she's joining us in studio discussing her new plans in a new role. We welcome now Ninfa Segarra, who's the Senior Vice President of Government and Community Affairs and Chief Diversity Officer at St. Barnabas Hospital, and no stranger to public service. And as we said, she spent the last 12 years actually working for a leading lobbying firm in Manhattan, and she's still on a whole lot of other boards. But
yes,
you are here with us, and good to have you, and welcome.
Thank you so much. It's great to be back at Bronxnet.
Yes,
and to be able to share with the community what we're doing at St. Barnabas, and it really is exciting to be there. I've been there 2 months. Mm-hmm. And it feels like a long time in a positive way, because I feel St. Barnabas has a very unusual atmosphere for a hospital. It really is a community hospital. A lot of the people that work there have been there for a long time because they're committed to the community. And it's led by Dr. David Perlstein, whose philosophy is we're not just going to provide traditional medical services, because that's not enough for our community. We have to go beyond that. We have to go beyond the walls of the hospital. We have to be in the community. We have to listen to the community and its needs. And it has a lot of needs, and we're trying in our own way to be part of the solution for our community, to make them healthy, to let them live positive, strong lives like the rest of the city does, and to ensure that they get the kind of services that other communities take for granted, and they still haven't received it, in particular in that section of the Bronx.
So walk us through a little bit about you for a minute, because obviously you're going to have the opportunity to have boots on the ground in a different kind of way. I mean, you've been in public service, we said, working with Mayor Koch, Mayor Giuliani, and in the life of public service. So talk about your role and how you're going to be engaging.
Well, the reason I came to St. Barnabas is after 13 years of working with the spectrum of healthcare, everything from Emblem Health to a community-based organization, I realized that it was frustrating for me as an activist, as an advocate, not to be part of the solution, not to be able to take all that knowledge, to take the experiences I had before that in government and use it in a very practical, boots on the ground kind of experience. And when I found out about the opening at St. Barnabas, I came to visit, and I have to tell you, it was instant, because there's a feeling in that institution about the love and attention. It cares about the community. It listens to the community. So I wanted to be part of something that was building something, that was providing real hands-on solutions.
And you're also working in tandem, if you will, of marrying not-for-profit, government. Put that together.
Yeah, I put all of the skill sets I have, all of the people I got to know, and using them on a really direct way in the community, that I'm able to work with them. For example, we have our new building on 3rd Avenue that's going to be opening up. And what that told me about the institution is that the leadership team understood that they had to use whatever assets they had to bring services to the community. So it's not traditional that a hospital would think of building affordable housing, of including it in a health and wellness center. But for that institution, it was a natural thing to do. There wasn't really a question about whether to do it. It was more the realities of how to do it and how to pay for it. Because our hospital is a community hospital. It's primarily Medicaid, so it means that we struggle financially year to year. But that didn't deter the team of thinking of doing this. So they found a partner, L&M Partners, and we now see across the street from the hospital these two beautiful buildings of affordable housing. And in addition to that, we're going to have a presence in the building. Again, things that in other communities they think of naturally. A fitness club, a rooftop garden where we can do gardening. People will learn how to cook healthy. Children and women and children's services in one place. Breast imaging in one place. It's just, they thought of something that the team really wanted to make sure that they let the community know, we're here to stay. And we're here to be partners with you in ensuring that we have a healthy community. Not gentrification, not pushing you out and building a building for other purposes. No, for the community, in conversation with the community. And that's what I get to do every day.
What does this mean for you, obviously, being at St. Barnabas, and given that you've had this great history of public service, what does it do for you personally in terms of, your heart, your commitment? How do you feel?
Well, I lived in the Bronx for 25 years. Most importantly, I raised my children here. My children were born in Albert Einstein. They went to public school in the Bronx. So the Bronx is really home. And again, it just makes me feel that all the experiences that I was given, I can now in a very real and practical way give back and be part of solutions, not complain about the problems, not just push for other people to find solutions, but that I can be part of it. I am part of a team that day to day thinks about, is concerned about, and wants to find solutions to make sure that the people that live around this institution recognize it as a partner with them, that we make them healthier. There are so many healthcare needs in our community. I mean, when you look at the demographics, the health indicators of this community, it has severe issues, including assault-related hospitalizations. I mean, the issues of violence around in this community are strong, and we have people in our emergency department that are working on solutions around that, trying to find ways of lowering violence in the community. So it just feels like I'm part of a team that really understands what to do to help, and that it's to be a partner with a community and to listen to it. And that's extraordinary. I couldn't ask for a better job. I mean, I love this organization.
You are in a job where we know we're going to see you.
Yes.
And of course, you're going to be coming back, but most of all, welcome back to the Bronx. And
Gracias.
The great work that you're doing here.
Thank you so much.
All right, Ninfa Segarra, our guest in studio, and definitely want to thank her for coming and being with us here today. Listen, take a quick break. We do have more shows. Stay with us, more Open coming up right after this.
Why don't you ever see elephants hiding in trees? Because they're really good at it. Yeah, I get it.
Thank you for staying with us. And guess what? We want to talk to you about an all-women-owned paralegal firm that's recently opened in the Hub, offering an array of services to the attorneys and the general public. And joining us now to tell us a little bit more about it is Swanee Batista, and she's the owner of Paralegals for the Community. And welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Good.
For having me.
Well, us. You're not just by yourself, but it's you today, right? So give us a little bit about this. We talked about this only, a firm here in the Bronx.
Yes. So my partners and I, which one of my partners is my sister, we wanted to maximize all the skill sets that we had, all of our transferable skills. So combined, we have over 25 years of experience in paralegal duties and at administration. So we said, let's do some research. The market is not saturated. There's definitely a need. And we decided to open up this firm in the Hub because the Bronx is a world full of culture, diversity, and it's undergone a massive transformation over the years. However, the Hub, 149th Street and 3rd Avenue, that's where we're located, it's still a really big underserved community that we knew that our services could definitely be rendered and that people could appreciate, that we're there to serve them.
So, for people who want to come to the Hub, they have an opportunity to take part in the services that you have to offer. Talk about the services that you have to offer.
So we offer a little bit of everything, I want to say. So like you initially said, we have a service specifically for attorneys and solo practitioners. So we typically like to say we could save you time and money. Why? You don't have to go through the hiring process. You save money on taxes. You save money on 401k, medical benefits. We already have our own location. We're highly trained. Of course, we are very accommodating with attorneys. So every attorney that we work with have specific needs. So let's say an attorney has one paralegal and they don't have time to go file a petition in court. This is where we come in. We do mobile notary services for them, translation services, immigration services, uncontested divorces. And for the general public, tax preparation, especially now, we're in season, we're swamped. A lot of people are not educated in the matter that they don't need an attorney all the time because, as we know, attorney legal fees are extremely expensive. So if a person comes to us and they don't have the financial means to pay for an attorney, but they're in need of a legal service, this is where we come in. We are very, very transparent with our clients. We're not attorneys. We have our disclaimer in English and Spanish to let them know this is what we could do, but this is what we cannot do. We cannot provide legal advice because that goes against the code of ethics for paralegals. In the event that you need to be represented in court, we cannot do that because we're not attorneys. However, this is what we could do for you. And we let them know exactly where their funds are going to be allocated, what services we could provide. Our clientele, I want to say 95% speak Spanish. So we make sure that we educate anyone that comes in through our door in the event that we cannot help them. Because let's say we could help them file a petition, but they're going to need an attorney in the long run. We let them know these are the proceedings, this is what you need to do, this is where we could help you. We have a huge network of attorney given that we've been in the field for so many years, so we refer them out.
And being so close to the Bronx Courthouse, obviously, the Hub, give us a little bit about the relationship, because you do talk about relationships and partnerships, and it's something that's very crucial in order for you guys to be able to be who you are.
Of course. I mean, relationships are crucial for us, not only with our clients that come in, but we want repeat business. I mean, we've been open for about 5 months and a half, so anyone that comes in, after my career as a paralegal, I also became a state certified school counselor. So those elements kind of coincide with what I do now. The empathy, the compassion, the passion to service the community. So we always try to convey that to our clients. And then with our, with everywhere that we've worked, all the law firms, the attorneys throughout the city, in Connecticut, once we parted ways, we've built this network and told the attorneys these are the services. And a lot of them, have come around because they understood that there's a need. And it's a win-win situation on both parts.
So somebody's out there watching right now saying, I'm not sure what kind of services you actually provide. Give us real quickly what those services would be, and if somebody wants to tap into you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's 3 partners. We do immigration services, so all immigration petitions, uncontested divorces. So let's say there's a spouse and their husband, they're not getting along anymore, but they've already amicably agreed that they want to part ways. We could help them file the uncontested petition. Tax preparation, we're certified tax in New York State. Mobile notary services. We understand, that mobile notary transaction take a huge place in many legal documents, technical documents, medical documents. If a person is disabled and they can't physically come to our office, we're all about convenience. We will come to you whether it's morning, afternoon, late night, to a hospital, to the location of your choice. We do a little bit of everything. I mean, with any document, if it's in English and they don't understand it, we will go through it so you could have the knowledge what the document says, because a lot of people, they sign things and they have no knowledge. Yeah. So again, we're huge on the education piece of it.
I want to make sure you get the opportunity to get in touch with Swanee of those. And
Definitely.
if you can support, go ahead and support. Get your information out there. The information's already been out there to the public. And thank you for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you
as
for
well.
having me. Thank you for having me.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
All righty, listen. Unfortunately, can you believe it? We are already at the end of the show. Want to thank all of our guests for joining us, and most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch Recablecast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum's Channel 67, Verizon Files Channel 33, or watch us anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. That about wraps it up for us here on the set of Open. Daren Jaime. I want to say a special shout out to my sister watching on MNN. A special shout out to Mother Bar, who's watching all the way at Nassau, Bahamas. I want to let you know, hey, it's a little bit colder here, I know. Hey, take care. Make sure you keep this channel wide open. Take care, everybody. God bless.